If just try harder worked, you wouldn't be watching this video. What if the problem was never your discipline, but how your brain handles overload? If just try harder actually worked, you wouldn't be stuck like this. Here's the truth most people never tell you. This isn't laziness. It isn't a lack of discipline. What you're experiencing is mental overload. When your brain receives too many signals at the same time, it doesn't push forward. It shuts down, not to sabotage you, but to protect you. In this video, I'll show you what's really happening inside an ADHD brain when everything suddenly feels impossible. You'll understand why starting feels harder than finishing, why guilt shows up the moment you stop, and why forcing motivation almost always backfires. Most importantly, you'll learn how to work with your brain instead of fighting it, so starting no longer feels like a battle every single day. What ADHD overwhelm actually feels like. Imagine this: in a typical brain, starting a task is like flipping one clear switch, one action, one direction. Now picture a control panel instead. Dozens of buttons flashing at the same time. None of them louder than the others. None of them telling you where to start. That's what ADHD overwhelm feels like. You're not distracted. You're overloaded. Laundry, emails, unfinished tasks, hunger, messages you forgot to reply to. Everything demands attention at once. Even small needs show up with the same urgency as big responsibilities. This is why ADHD isn't a lack of attention. It's too much attention, all at the same time, with no automatic system to sort what matters first. You might sit down to start one simple task and feel strangely tense. Your mind isn't blank. It's crowded. And when everything feels equally urgent, your brain doesn't choose. It freezes. In the next part, we'll look at why your brain reacts this way and why pushing harder only makes it worse, why your brain can't prioritize. Many people think ADHD is about being easily distracted, but the real issue is regulation. Your brain has a system that decides what matters now and what can wait. That system relies heavily on dopamine to sort signals and initiate action. In an ADHD brain, that signal is inconsistent. So instead of one task standing out, everything arrives at the same volume. Replying to an important email feels just as urgent as remembering to drink water. Starting a work project feels no different than folding a shirt on the floor. Your brain knows these tasks are not equal. It simply can't rank them in real time. So your to-do list doesn't line up neatly. It crashes in all at once, like alarms going off in every room. And when the brain receives too many start now signals at the same time, something unexpected Instead of, in the next part, we'll talk about that pause and why it's not failure, avoidance, or laziness. Freeze mode is a protection response. When too many signals hit your brain at once, it doesn't speed up. It slows down. This is called freeze mode, not because you're giving up, but because your system is overloaded. You might recognize this moment. You stand up to clean your room, then sit back down without knowing why. You open your inbox to reply to one message, see several more, and suddenly feel your chest tighten. From the outside, it looks like procrastination. From the inside, it feels like hitting a wall you can't push through. Your brain isn't refusing to work. It's trying to prevent further overload by doing nothing at all. And here's the part most people miss. Freeze mode isn't a choice. It's an automatic response, similar to how the body shuts down during extreme stress. In the next part, we'll look at what makes this freeze even heavier and why guilt often shows up right after. guilt, shame, and the inner pressure. After the freeze comes something heavier. Guilt. You tell yourself you should be doing more. You compare your pace to other people. You wonder why simple tasks seem effortless for everyone else. On the outside, you might look calm. On the inside, your mind is loud and critical. Many people with ADHD learn to mask in these moments. They act fine. They stay quiet. They pretend nothing is wrong. But that performance costs energy the brain no longer has. Shame doesn't motivate the ADHD brain. It drains it. When guilt piles on top of overload, clarity disappears. Decision-making gets harder. Starting feels even more impossible. And here's the paradox. The more you blame yourself for being stuck, the deeper the freeze becomes. In the next part, we'll talk about why your brain reaches for quick relief, and why that doesn't mean you're weak or undisciplined, why your brain reaches for the phone. When the pressure becomes too much, your brain looks for relief, fast relief. That's why you often reach for your phone, not because you don't care, but because your system needs a quick drop in tension. Scrolling delivers small bursts of dopamine, just enough to calm the noise for a moment, just enough to help your brain breathe again. But the relief doesn't last. As soon as you stop, guilt shows up. You tell yourself you wasted time. You promise to do better next time. This creates a loop. Overwhelm leads to scrolling. Scrolling leads to shame. Shame makes starting even harder. Here's the key detail most advice ignores. The phone isn't the problem. It's a symptom. In the next part, we'll talk about what actually helps without forcing discipline or relying on willpower. What actually helps? An overloaded brain. Here's the shift that changes everything. When your brain is overloaded, pushing harder doesn't create movement. It creates resistance. What helps is reducing choices. An overwhelmed brain doesn't need 10 options. It doesn't even need 5. It needs one small, clear starting point. Clean the kitchen is too big, but throw away one piece of trash feels manageable. Once you start, momentum often follows. But momentum is a bonus, not a requirement. External structure also matters. Timers, short lists, visible reminders. When something outside your brain holds the structure, your mind can finally relax. For many people with ADHD, overwhelm isn't just cognitive, it's nervous system overload. Your brain isn't resisting work. It's waiting to feel safe enough to begin. And this is the part most people never hear. You don't have to finish. You only have to start, sometimes for just 30 seconds. Next, let's put everything together. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Your brain isn't broken. When everything feels heavy, confusing, or impossible to start, it isn't a character flaw. It's a system under too much pressure. A ADHD overwhelm isn't about motivation. It's about overload, regulation, and a brain that processes urgency differently. The freeze, the guilt, the avoidance, they aren't signs of failure. They are signals. Signals telling you that your mind needs fewer demands, clearer steps, and more support outside itself. Once you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What does my brain need right now?" everything begins to shift. Not instantly, not perfectly, but gently and sustainably. If this video made you feel seen, you're not alone. Many people experience this silently and assume it's a personal failure. If you want, share one moment where your brain froze like this. Not to explain yourself, but to remind yourself you're not broken. And if this topic resonates, the next videos will go deeper. We'll talk about emotional overload, nervous system safety and why calm can feel uncomfortable for an ADHD brain. You don't have to fix everything today. Just stay curious and take one small step with me.